from when you're down 28 and then you lose 31-29 or whatever it is, like it's not a depressing game at all. Okay, here's the first thing. You got to be ready when the game starts. And what do I mean by that? Like, we know that Minnesota Vikings are going to be slanting, okay? And they're going to be bringing guys over. This is a little TT game. The St. Louis Rams used to run this against us when we run our gap stuff, and it's really difficult to block. You have to, but here's the thing. They tell you what they're doing with their stances. Like, they're tipping this play, okay? So we have to be ready. And you see what happens. The backside tackle and the backside guard, they have to make some sort of B1 or triple call, and they have to come a little bit flatter because the tackle gets caught here. The guard's trying to rise, so Sean Ryan's trying to rise. Obviously, Josh Myers has to get up on the linebacker 51. I don't know who 51 is. That kid played his ass off. Oh, my God, what a missile he was in that game. Just absolutely played really, really well. So I think Harrison comes off, Phillips comes off and make the play, or maybe this is 90, but one way or the other, they have this figured out except for the backside tackle. So Zach Tom just has to take a better step. This is a call and a communication to force him to do that. This isn't something you're going to be able to pick up on the fly, but you need to be ready for it. Yes, they end up not coming off on Phillips on the overlap. Now, here's the deal. We talked about this last time. They really can't play it straight. If they don't run their twists and stuff, they're not good enough to hold up. I mean, that's a lot of times when you go into a game, and this is like 90% of the teams in the National Football League do this, and the teams that don't, you're really scared about. But 90% of the time, when you just know that guys can't beat you, or they know that they can't beat you, then they start running all these twists and stunts and all this nonsense, right? It becomes about the coordinator and the scheme, which it is about Flores, which is not, that's not an insult to anybody. It's just a fact of life. But they can't play it straight. Like, if this team lined up in a 6 or 7 man box and just played it straight the whole game, they would get absolutely mollywopped by most teams because they just don't have guys at every position that can hold up against the run. So on the backside, Rasheed Walker does a great job here of cutting off the spike nose or the spike end when they bring the safety off the edge. And because of it, you end up getting, a nice 9 yard gain. And then we run the gap. I think I showed this one from the end zone. And I think especially with Sean Ryan, I think this is what we have to do. You got to put him on the move as much as possible. And you have to put him in double teams as much as possible. And the game, when I say the game's changed, like, this is a traditional 7-man box with 3 linebackers that most teams, like a couple of years ago, they probably didn't even have 3 linebackers to actually play in the game anymore. But if you look at the numbers now, and if you count the quarterback, which I am, then you have 9 people in the box versus a real 9-on-7. Like, if you do your job on defense, you still don't have this manned up. Somebody has to come and make a play if everybody is just accounted for by one man. So in other words, if our quarterback's out of it, it's 8-on-7. Running back's got the ball, it's 7-on-7. If our 7 up front do the job and just single block every guy, there's nobody to account for these gaps. And the safeties are so far back that you're going to have, because you're playing this too high shell, that you're going to have a lot of success running the football. So when you bring in 2 tight ends or a tight end and a fullback, like, this is why you see a lot of people moving to this stuff, because even in this like 1980s, 1990s, 2000s defensive system right here, where they just a traditional 4-3 with a shade and a 3 technique, right? I think Tampa ran this till they're blue in the face. You just don't know how to fit. You don't know. There's just so many things at the second level in particular that they're not as good at because they haven't seen it for so long. So they run the trade, they bring the guard around, bring Tucker Kraft, does another great job. That's not Tucker, it's Sims. All right, here we go. Remember this play. I want to show you this. And it's a different look, but a lot of times they brought the backside linebacker, okay? Sometimes they walk up, sometimes they do it from depth. But we're going to run on the top here, we're going to run a variation of inside man, straight, outside man, 15-yard dig, basic route, whatever you want to call it. Okay, 10, 15-yard dig. Now on this one, linebacker looks over it, he knows he has to drop to that side because that's where his partner came from. But he's reading the quarterback's eyes, continues to get depth, sees the seam open because it's too high. Oh, here's the other thing that's interesting. The Vikings did this a couple times. Is it in here? Let's see if I got this right. Yep. Okay. Last thing. The Vikings are on the snap, keeping the safety down, dropping the backside corner, turning the safety. Right. So it's a variation of cover two, but the way that they run it, I forgot what people call this, but they cloud it back from the corner position, and they bring that safety up. Anyways, so Reed ends up making the play. Everything looks great, and they only rush three. They bring the four. Now you see the pick here. Watch this. This is the other part of this play. You see the pick that they're trying to do on a sheet, and our running back does a great job of knocking that linebacker off and then picking this up. That's absolutely critical, okay? And remember, he came from inside out. It's important for later. Good throw, good catch. Okay, now it starts being a problem. And I've shown plays where this player, Watson, does a good job working hard blocking, and you show some plays like this, especially at the line of scrimmage. I just don't know that he is I don't know if we should put him in this position. There's a disconnect because I don't think it's an effort thing. This is the second or third time this year where I'm like, come on, man. Van Ginkel's right there. You have to go get him. You're faster. Go, even if you get knocked down, just go do something so he can't make the play here. So that's essentially a 1 yard gain. And now you come in and just get thumped at the tight end position. I'll show this from the end zone. But, I mean, this is like nail, meat, hammer right here. I mean, come on, man. I mean, we got to bring it. We just absolutely got to bring it. He can't knock you back you're running full speed. You not only get knocked back, you should either get flat back or you should move him, but just getting knocked back means you've slowed down into contact. And then Grenard makes the play. And Grenard's a stud, man. I love that guy, but come on, guys. So we miss a field goal. So there. You can't finish a drive because you guys aren't blocking. Guys that should be blocking on, quite frankly, plays that aren't that hard. Especially the lead on the tight end. It's not that hard, man. The guy's not going anywhere. I mean, you got to button your chin strap a little bit tighter, but he's not going anywhere. Then you miss the field goal. 7-0. Okay, same play. Here we go. Now we add a back out of the backfield to chip this, okay? And they're walked up. Hold on one second. Okay, they're walked up. But they've seen this on the sidelines now because he doesn't care about the third man. This isn't a bunch look. They chipped out, and he sees the end, and he sits there. And not only does we get the pick, but unfortunately Watson gets hurt. So going back to the well pretty soon, it's a variation of the same route concept, different call. I think the Vikings saw that. And of course, all these guys who are watching a ton of film are going to be able to pick up different kind of route combinations, particularly if it's out of the same look. If they were in a bunch and that back had released on time, maybe there's a little bit different, but you saw because the back didn't release on time, the outside guy was able to drop into that throwing lane. A little bit later, this is tough to pick up. Now, I just showed you the one inside out from the linebacker picking our tackle. Now the linebacker comes from outside in, which you never expect. So, if you're a tackle, you're used to a TE, so tackle end game. You're used to an ET where the end goes first and the tackle comes around. And now we're used to the linebacker end game where the linebacker picks you inside out like a TE and the end goes inside. What we're not used to, what most people haven't seen, is the tackle has to deal with an ET from the linebacker or the safety coming off. And they do a really good job of just mixing up same concepts. They just take it from a different angle, and they are able to block our tackle, get the end off for really an easy sack that puts us, back at the 35-yard line, which is on the border of being outside of field goal range. So That's a really good play that is really difficult to block. It's really tough to say that the running back is going to be able to get there. And let's be honest, like if I got a dude outside me who's little and 91 starts spiking inside as a tackle, unless I've practiced that, like I'm locked in on my guy. Now I got to keep my outside foot back so I don't get picked, but tough play. Okay, we get two bites of the apple here, and look, there's a couple things going on. One, I think the Vikings did a good job. They did this the week before against the Texans, but they take that backside linebacker and they just run him right at the quarterback. We said if they did that, and we showed it from tape from last week, the middle of the field is open. He's actually open in two different spots here. I think he might be throwing to Dobbs. He overthrows the tight end. Dobbs touches it, bounces off. Now we got our second pick of the day, which is obviously very uncharacteristic of Jordan Love. This leads to another touchdown. Now we got the great orbit motion. I want to put some positive in here. So they're going to run the same thing up top that we just saw. They're going to run the seam, and then they're going to run the 15-yard dig. Okay, and there's really no way to defend this. This is what you love about our offense, and when we run the orbit, now you've got both of those. You got the flat player having to sit in the flat because they know right now if Jeremy touches that ball, he's one move away from making it a 20-yard game. The linebacker probably hasn't dropped as deep because he saw that orbit as well, so he stays in. So the depth between that second level and the third level of your defense is now 15 yards, which is a phenomenal amount of space. So even if the safety drives or the corner tries to stay, that's just a wide open play. And I mean, listen, I'm going to show. We can sit here and go through the second half. I think the big thing is like you can't start that way if you want to win football games. But like I said, just making a general statement. You have to appreciate that they did come back, score 28 points. I think their answer was 20-3 or something like that on the way to a unfortunate loss, but there's a lot of takeaway from it. So let's flip to the defensive side. The Vikings, we came in, talked about on the preview show. What are they going to do? Under center, play action pass. Run out of 12 and 13, try to feature Aaron Jones. And then they've been deadly in the screen game, picking up like probably averaging somewhere around 15 yards a play.